Hey everyone, welcome to another 15 cards episode. Although I must admit we've slightly gone overboard here by 2 cards. It's actually 17 cards here, so I better adjust the title of the video accordingly. These are from Worldwake. They're all commons. They're from a particular binder that I have, which is filtered in a certain way. And you might be able to guess. I won't give it away, but you might be able to guess what format this plays to. Also here, there's a couple of cycles, so there's probably cards in here that wouldn't normally be included, but I wanted to show the full, certainly the second cycle in full. So let's just go through these. As always, we'll start out at this level of zoom, and then we'll zoom in and take a look at the artwork. So, Nature's Claim, single green, instant, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Its controller gains 4 life. We have Explore. On 1 and a green sorcery, you may play an additional land this turn. Draw a card. Arbor Elf, single green, 1/1, creature elf druid, tap, untap target forest. Dispel was in Worldwake. Single blue instant counter target instant spell. Walking Atlas, 2 to cast, 1/1. Tap, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. Pilgrim's Eye, 3 to cast, it's a 1/1 with flying. And when Pilgrim's Eye enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. And this is the first of the 2 cycles. So, Sajiri Step. I can never remember which way that is, how you pronounce that exactly. When it enters the battlefield, it enters tapped. And also, when it enters the battlefield, target creature you control gains protection from the colour of your choice until end of turn. And you can tap it for a single white mana. Halimar Depths, so the blue one, enters tapped. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 3 cards of your library, then put them back in any order, generating blue mana when you tap it. Paducah Bog enters the battlefield tapped. When it enters the battlefield, exile all cards from target player's graveyard. Tap for black mana. Smouldering Spires enters the battlefield tapped. When it enters the battlefield, target creature can't block this turn. Tapping that for red mana. And then Colney Garden. Surprise, surprise, enters the battlefield tapped. When it enters the battlefield, you get to put a 0/1 green plant creature token onto the battlefield. Taps for green mana. So you can see that cycle had interesting enter the battlefield effects on them. And we also have Quicksand in Worldwake. Tap it for colourless mana. You can tap, sacrifice it, and target attacking creature without flying gets -1/-2 until end of turn. And then we get this cycle, the cycle of Zendikons. So we have the Guardian, 2 and a white enchantment aura, enchant land. Enchanted land is a 2/6 white wall creature with defender. It's still a land. When enchanted land is put into a graveyard, return that card to its owner's hand. The blue one was Win Zendikon, single blue to cast. These are all enchantment auras. Enchanted land is a 2/2 blue elemental creature with flying. It's still land. When enchanted land is put into a graveyard, return that card to its owner's hand. Corrupted Zendikon, one and a black, enchant land. Enchanted land is a 3/3 black ooze creature, it's still a land, and again, when enchanted land is put into a graveyard, return that card to its owner's hand. Crusher Zendikon, 2 and a red, enchant land. Enchanted land is a 4/2 red beast creature with trample. It's still a land, and again, when enchanted land is put into a graveyard, return that card to its owner's hand. And surprise, surprise, Vastwood Zendikon, 4 and green, and yep, guess again, it's enchant land. Enchanted land is a 6/4 green elemental creature, it's still a land, and once again, when enchanted land is put into a graveyard, return that card to its owner's hand. So when you look at these, obviously in the rules text, the top and the bottom on these, the templating's all the same. The casting cost is different on the different cards, but the big difference here is, you know, what it turns the enchanted land into there. So interesting, you know, a couple of interesting cycles. You can see, just because of the nature of what was in the set, these cards are leaning strongly towards mana acceleration, I suppose, and the various cards beyond the cycles. I think maybe out of that is Dispel, the odd one out. Oh, and the first one, Nature's Claim. Right. Let us zoom in. So, interesting collection of cards. We're right on the edge of focus here. Oh yeah, I think that's perfect. Excellent. We're good. So, yeah, this is interesting. It's pretty abstract in some ways. Well, very nature looking. It does look like, you know, nature is encroaching whatever this is supposed to be. This is almost like the reverse, actually. It seems to look better when I look at it in paper without going through my camera lens than the camera lens. There seems to be more depth when looking at it directly, which is interesting. Oh, this is pretty epic. Explore. Yeah. I love the, there's a certain green cards around this period in Magic where they have these sort of green expanses in them, and they have like a fairly small main character, and then it's just a sort of magnitude of nature type thing, or the magnitude of the environment. It's in some ways a little bit more old school. And then we have Dispel, which has turned up a lot in Magic. Now this is popping really nice on the camera. Yeah, this would look super cool in foil. Definitely, there's tons going on here as you sort of examine this. It's interesting structure in the background here. And I like how the outline of the protagonist here is sort of blurring. It's funny, it reminded me a little bit, I got a flashback there to the rotoscoping that was used in the, I don't know if anybody's familiar with the Lord of the Rings film before the big ones, the big trilogy, and I can't remember the name of the director, but they did a single Lord of the Rings film, the subsequent films were never filmed, and it was largely animated, but they used this interesting rotoscoping technique for the orcs. And it just made me think of that suddenly, that sort of bleeding effect. Slightly ephemeral. Walking Atlas. It's actually a card I tend to forget about until I see it. And it has this sort of interesting ability. You know, when I think of these sort of walking whatever, I always sort of associate them with lands that animate more than anything. So it's an interesting twist. And then, of course, this classic Pilgrim's Eye. I think I've got a nice foil version of this, and there's an interesting version of the card, I think, with a slightly different perspective as well. Almost like looking down from above rather than side on. And this is a real nice mixture of the structures that often you'll see on other cards from around this period, from the Zendikar block. So this is an interesting opportunity to look at some non-basic land artwork from this period and see how that might reflect the sort of perceived landscape of the plain of Zendikar. And I'm sure anybody that played around that period or is familiar with other cards will recognise these sort of structures. And there were some very nice non-basic lands from, you know, around this time, which always bring a smile to my face when I see. This is nice to actually properly look at Halimar Depths, because it's quite a dark card and it's often difficult to see the detail, but yeah. It almost looks like the same protagonist that was in Dispel in some ways, isn't it? Oh yeah, this one, Bejeweled Bog. I don't think I've seen many of these in foil. It'd be interesting. This would look pretty good in foil, I think. I'm sort of slightly mesmerised by this. It was like sort of glowing effect here, which is interesting. Is that someone's face? I've just realised. Oh, this is supposed to be a corpse, isn't it? Oh, okay. Smouldering spires. Another one that I've not really looked closely at. Yeah, again, another card that just makes me think of Lord of the Rings for different reasons, very sort of Mordorish. Again, you can see echoes of the general aesthetic of this particular block and set. This is another cool one to sort of lose yourself in it. Generally, you know, that's what two, maybe three cards where they're really sort of focusing in on a sort of close up, you know, area. No, it's interesting when you're getting close and you can see all the different structures. Looks like the sort of plants that you would, you know, if I was out hiking somewhere and there was a sort of very wet, boggy area. sort of things you'd see sprouting up. Not sure whether this is supposed to be a spider here or not. Can't quite tell. So I think similar-ish artwork to the original of this, because Quicksand is a pretty old card, isn't it? I think. Because in the original it doesn't have like a, is it a hand coming out of it, I think, from what I remember. Looks like a possible failed attempt at trying to get out of the bog here. This looks like some sort of grappling hook. And now we have the Zendikar cycle. So again, these interesting structures here that seem to almost like defy, or do defy gravity. And with some of these, I suppose in some ways are echoes of other cards which you know, feature, in this case, you know, like a 2/2 blue elemental or something similar with flying. Makes you think about other you know, regular creature cards which are in that, you know, of that type. Another piece of relatively sort of close-up artwork. Our oozy friend here. Several oozy things going on. It's almost like echoes of, because of course we've got what, Zendikar going into Worldwake, into Rise of the Eldrazi. So it, you know, seeing these tentacles here, it does make me think of Eldrazi. Fast with Zendikar. Again, these sort of floating structures going on here. The full, you know, the full basic land artwork from this period, from, you know, the first Zendikar set, really interesting to look at. Not sure if I've got any of that. That was quite hard to come by at the time, I think. I have the odd one here or there, but certainly I would have featured them in my Christmas Land Ahoy specials. And that's something I've got coming up at some point, is to go through and look at some foil stuff for that, you know, for land. So that'll be interesting to see once I get around to it. So there we have it. Hopefully you enjoyed that. I found that incredibly meditative. Yeah, so a nice range of cards here. I had forgotten just how cool that Dispel card looks. Yeah. Other highlights here. I think all of these have. Yeah. I was a missed opportunity there. I should have dug out the old school. I think I've got an old school Quicksand somewhere. Thanks once again for watching. Bye for now, and I will catch you in a future video.